Hi everyone, I'm going to teach you some basic knitting techniques. So all you need is a ball of yarn and knitting needles. So there are all different sizes of yarn. This one here is a 4-ply, then this is 8. So if you place them together you can see there's a difference in the thickness. Then you get some crazy ones like this guy, really thick. You can also get some fun fluffy ones. Now needles. So same as yarn, there are all different sizes of needle. Usually you'll stick with a size 5 for size 8 yarn. But all of your knitting projects will write on there which yarn size and which knitting needle size you'll need. So don't stress about that. So here you can see the difference between size 3, size 5 and size 8. So stitches. There are many different types of stitches. Moss, garter, stockinette. You'll learn them in the patterns, but each of them are just a combination of a knit stitch or a purl stitch. So the only thing you need to learn is how to knit and how to purl. At the beginning of every project, you'll need to know how to cast on. So on your project, it will tell you if you need to cast on 50 stitches. So I'll show you what a stitch is. One stitch is each one of these loops. So in my finger, I've got 3 stitches. So casting on. Casting on is basically the first thing you do when you're starting a project. So it's how you create your first stitch. It's your first row. So how we do that, get your piece of yarn. Depending on how many stitches you want to cast on will depend on the length of yarn you use. It's about 3 centimeters per stitch. It's best to have more than to have less because you can always cut off but you can't add on. So what I do is make a slip knot, make an upside down U shape like this, twist the yarn, and you're going to grab this piece and pull it through the loop from behind. This is what you put onto your knitting needle. If you pull on either side, you can make it shorter or longer. You don't want it too tight, that's about right. Always, when you're casting on, hold the tip of the needle. I have it under my armpit, but however you like to hold it, whatever feels comfortable for you is what's going to work. Have the loose strand on the left side of your body and the yarn that's attached to the ball on the right side. So the right side, the yarn side, is going to be in my hand. I hold it strained as well. Hold it however it feels comfortable for you. Hold the yarn in these 3 fingers. Use your thumb to wrap the yarn around. Now using your needle to come through left to right. This side now, we're wrapping it around the needle and then grabbing that loop and pulling it over the needle and tightening. I'll do that again. 3 fingers holding the yarn, loop the yarn around your finger, going from left to right inside that loop, string attached to the yarn, wrapping around the needle, and then flipping that loop over and tightening.
So just follow that cast on all the way until the end of the yarn or until the number of stitches you have matches with your pattern.
Okay, now for the fun part. We have 2 needles now. We're going to flip the needle, so now the tip is facing the left hand side. Now we're starting our knit stitch. You grab your needle, go from the left to right side of that, holding the yarn that's attached to the ball. We're wrapping that around the needle to get that loop. Once you've found that loop, pull it through, slip that off. The very first stitch you get, you're going to get this, the end piece. just pull that through so it's at the front. So needle in through the loop from the left to right. Yarn that's holding the wool, go around the needle and down. Slip your needle through the first loop, push up and slide off. I like to hold my finger on each stitch just to make sure I have control and know it's not going to slip right off. That is your basic knit stitch. It'll start to look a bit like this. As you can see, these the different rows, and you've created something called a garter stitch. This is what will happen if you just knit with a knit stitch. As I knit and I start grabbing each stitch, it pulls on my knit. So every now and then I scrunch the knit back up so I can hold it in my fingers, and this side bunches up here. Just drag it away and keep it out of the way. Now I'll show you what a purl stitch looks like. So a purl stitch, what we're doing with the purl is the reverse to a knit stitch. So instead of going in this side to your stitch, we're actually going to put it underneath our string and from the right side up. Going underneath this string and from the right side of the loop. Then with the yarn, we're going to wrap it around this needle like so, and then slip down, push through, slide off. That is a purl stitch. We're going from the right side through with the yarn, wrapping around this needle, pulling that through the stitch, making sure it doesn't fall off, and then pulling it off. You can see there are 2 stitches now. So after knitting just one row using the purl stitch, you can see the stitch is already starting to look a little different. So now that you know how to do a knit stitch and a purl stitch, you can do any project. I have some examples. Here is a straight garter stitch. This one is just knit the entire thing. Then you have a rib stitch. So there's all different types of rib, but as you can see, there's panels that go up and down. So what this is on each row, you'll do 2 knit stitches, then 2 purl, 2 knit and 2 purl, and that's how you can create this design. So if you did 4 knit stitches and 4 purl, you'll have larger columns going across. You have stocking mat, which looks like this. Knit 1 whole row and purl a whole row. It's like little chevrons almost. Then you have a purl bar stitch, which is this guy. So this is when you knit 4 rows and purl 1. Knit 4 rows and purl 1. And you have the seed stitch, kind of a random one. This one is just knit 1, purl 1. You use an odd number of stitches. So when your last stitch is going to be a knit, when you turn it over, the first one will be a purl. So once you learn how to use a knit stitch and a purl stitch, you can achieve anything. There's so many different versions of stitches. Those are just to name a few. So now once you're happy with your knitting and you're finished, we're going to bind off, which means that we'll be able to take it off the needle. So to bind off, we're going to start as you normally would, the regular stitch. Knit 2 of them. And then when we get to here, what we're going to do, insert your needle to the first stitch and drag it over this one. Pull it away. So knit the next one. So whenever you have 2 stitches on your right needle, we're going to cut it down. So needle into this loop and we're going to drag it over. Get rid of that. It's important to do this stage loosely so that you don't end up having a really tightly bound off edge. Now you find yourself at your last one. We're just going to pull on the needle to make a larger loop so it's easier to control. And then you're going to grab some scissors and cut this around about here. So now that you've cut off this piece, we're going to just put it through the loop. So, like so. And then pull on that, tighten a bit. I like to always just do another knot here just to make sure it's really secure. And there you have it, a bound off stitch.